For most of us, fishing is what we call enjoying an adult beverage near water. I'm pretty sure my granddaddy used fishing as a reason for me to stop talking. He said I'd scare the fish away. But for my next guest, fishing is a way of life and how he makes a living. He's fourth generation commercial fisherman, and today we're going to get a peek inside the life and ideals of what he calls an honest living. Debt-free dad of two beautiful girls, Maine Lobsterman, six generations in the same town and never married a relative, Erik Waterman, everyone.
How we doing?
We made it. We finally made it.
Yeah, where I am.
So I was preparing for this conversation and I had this total dumb moment when I realized your last name was Waterman. Waterman. It doesn't get more perfect than that. And that's so fitting for a fourth generation fisherman.
Well, I guess it fits better than Smith.
Yeah, it does. How are your daughter's fishing skills?
Well, my youngest daughter, she really likes fishing. Kind of like to reel her in a little bit. So she didn't like it so much because it scares me a little bit. But
why is this?
She well, just because I don't know. I know what it takes to go commercial fishing and make it work. And I mean, if she decided that that's what she wanted to do, I'd support her 100% with my checkbook, probably. And but she's just, I'm afraid she'd make me look bad. She's just fishy. She catches stuff. I went tuna fishing one time this year. She begged me all summer, can we please go tuna fishing? Can we please go tuna fishing? Till I got sick of hearing it. And I was like, all right. And I built it up and built it up and built it up. So we ended up, and she had her own lobster traps too. So she'd come out on my boat and we'd haul her traps. And she'd get what we caught out of those to pay for her car that I'm going to buy. And so I took my girlfriend, my stern man, and Abby, my daughter, tuna fishing. We were there for, and I'm not a great tuna fisherman. I don't have the patience for it. We were there I just picked a random spot. Oh, fish, I'll just throw the anchor out by these shoals and there's got to be some bait, some herring and mackerel swimming around. Tuna will be feeding on them. And yeah. And, we were there for an hour and we hooked up on a tuna. At first I thought it was a shark. But it wasn't. It was a tuna. And it was, it was a 2-hour fight.
Oh, wow.
And
did she fight? Did she do it the whole time?
No, I did it. I wouldn't let anyone near the pole. I was like, nope, nope, we're going to do this. I want to get it in the boat. If anything goes wrong, I want it to be my fault. I didn't want, and plus I was as excited as anybody, right?
Right.
So we ended up catching the tuna, and it was like 95 inches, and we had all we could do to get. We had to use the hauler, the pod hauler. We got it in the boat, and then we went and sold it, and then they kept begging me to go again. And I said, nope, we're 100% right now. We went once, we got one, we're done.
Are there very many female fishermen in like the commercial fishing industry?
Yeah. There's more now than there was, I'd say, it's been 20 years ago. Yeah. There's one that fishes out of my dock. And I know that there's like east of here, like Stonington and Vinyl Haven, Stonington. There's women that have their own rigs, their own boats, gear, and and crew. But
female crew.
Yeah, no, women are generally the best stern men. They're efficient. They don't waste. They don't waste time.
What's a sternman?
That's the person that's behind the captain that's filling the bait bags and measuring and banding the lobsters. So it's like a mate. So
Oh,
you have the captain and your mate. And if you're married and your wife's your stern man, then you're mates, double mates.
a double mate. You've said you've been fishing, I think you said since you were like 11 years old. Have you ever thought about having a different career other than being a commercial fisherman?
Probably the only thing I could think of is uh, I always liked history in school. I loved history, learning about war and learning about the history of the country. And I always liked the way back Native Americans, did Columbus really discover America, which we all know he didn't. And but that's not what was in the textbooks when I was in school. So now it's ingrained in all of us that Columbus was the man, but he wasn't. And I would have loved to have been an archaeologist.
A marriage
Because
archaeologist or a regular archaeologist?
I just like to dig in the dirt and find old stuff,
Hmm.
whether it would be dinosaur bones or a an Inca like village or something, changing history. They say you can't change the past, but you can if you're an archaeologist.
Yeah, definitely you become the teller of the history. This is not ancient history, but this is recent history that I learned about when I was preparing for our talk today. Um, have you ever heard of the Codfather?
Who?
Don't choke.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, for those that don't know what this is, because I definitely didn't, he was a fisherman in New Bedford, Massachusetts, who in 2016 had a fleet that was about a fifth of the entire cod market. And he profited from selling his own catch to himself. Basically, he had his own like warehouse. And then he provided false catch reports to the government and to make more profit and evades taxes. And his whole scheme got busted when a NOAA agent and an IRS agent posing as Russian businessmen pretended to like be interested in buying his business. He just got out of prison in like June. It's such an interesting story. But what I wanted to ask you about is when you heard about this, because I learned that his dishonesty affected those that were very honest. And I know from talking with you that you have a respectable code of ethics, right? That you seem to live your life by. So, like when you heard about this, what was your reaction on when you heard about how he was cheating the system?
Well, first and foremost, my neighbor was his cellmate.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small world. It happens.
I figured it was a small, which is why I was asking about this.
Not direct neighbor, but he's like 3 roads up. And we don't break bread together. But no, I heard about it, and my cousins, we call it big boat fishing, scallop drag, big boat scallop, and you go out for a couple weeks, ground fishing, a 2-week trip. And I've done it, and I fished out of Fairhaven with my cousins, and their father ran the boat. But that just, I mean, that was at such a big scale, undercutting all the, the hardworking, honest fishermen. But he had it going on as the middleman. When the product got to the dock, from the dock to the processors, where he cashed in big. He probably, being an honest businessman, he could have been very successful, I would say. But it's generally you find anything like that. That was at a very large scale. That it's the guy in the middle that's really putting the screws to people. It's not the guy that's bringing the product in. It's the guy that's taking it from the dock to the next spot. between, we're number one, and then between 2 and 3 is where you're getting it. But I don't, I'm sure, I'd stand on my head in prison for 5 years if I could get out and be a millionaire. Actually, I wouldn't. I'd wait till my girls graduated from college, and then I'd stand on my head for 5 years.
Right.
And then pay for
Well, it brought up some interesting dynamics of the world that you live in, because it was talking about it was actually a podcast that I'll link it in my Saturday emails if anyone wants to listen to it. But it was talking about the permitting for different boats. And so if this one guy's fleet, he took up most of the permits, and then how that really negatively affected the other fishermen and their ability to make a living. And so that kind of led me down the thought path of all of the challenges that I'm obviously not aware of, as someone in your position of a commercial fisherman has. So can you kind of make me aware, what are some of the top challenges that you face in order to make ends meet in your field?
I think, well, going back to the Codfather thing, what he did, I think that really hurt the small guys, guys like me. I mean, I majority of my income is from lobstering, and I drag for scallops and I catch a few halibut and stuff like that. But the lobstering is the meat, but I don't know. I'd say not myself, but I don't really, the biggest challenge to keep going is that there really isn't. For me, I guess, I'm grateful. I just make it work. If the price of lobsters is $3, everybody does a little, you bite your cheek, but it doesn't matter if the price is low. Everybody bitches about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the people that are bitching are not in a position to do anything to change it unless they all get together and stop going, because it's supply and demand. But, it's just, I don't really, bait prices go up. We've got a good price now, good lobster price now. I don't have any complaints really. Everybody, there was a time when people didn't get along around here, but now we're all related. So, no, we got to.
That would make Thanksgiving just awkward.
I know. Family reunions are the worst. That's the best place to pick up women.
It's a family reunion.
No, but I'm just kidding. I hope you took that as a joke, but we're near Canada, I know. But
walk us through, what is the day of Maine Lobsterman like, and a regular day? What does it look like?
Well, it's different for everybody, because everybody that everyone's self-employed. They can set their own hours, but myself, I'll get up at this time of year. It doesn't get light until I'd say quarter of 7 in the morning. So I'll get up at 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning, cup of coffee, have my sternman meet me at the dock. I usually have an hour in the morning. Pull in, tell him what we're doing. If I have something in my truck for him to grab, say, grab this and that, and grab my lunchbox. I go down the ramp onto the float, get my skiff. I row out to my boat, bring the boat in, bait. We put bait, fuel, whatever we need aboard. And then we head out. I usually I'm usually hauling my first traps by, I don't know, for this time of year, I'd say 7. But, in the summer, we leave earlier. So, I just kind of compensate a little bit. Some guys will haul in the dark, in the morning, early morning, and I'm not one of those guys. But we make it work. Get it done.
Are there like unspoken rules or etiquette around other lobstermen?
Well, it's really changed. I mean, when I was a teenager and my early 20s, there was a lot more. I don't know, people. There was a lot more tension, and there was big lobster years too, and jealousy and greed and whatever you want to call it. But now it's people get along. If someone has a problem with someone, I usually just handle it in the parking lot. I'm not gonna, we're not gonna cut gear. I might hate that guy, but he's got kids. I don't hate his kids, but I'm just speaking off the cuff because I don't hate anybody. But if you have a problem with someone, and just go talk to them. Either you're going to the hospital to get your jaw wired shut, or you shake hands and walk away.
That's interesting. I wonder why it was like more full of conflict earlier and now it's not.
I just think that the fishing was better. I don't know. You get different players for different years,
So even though you've been in the business in the same area essentially for most of your life, that's not the case with everyone.
Yeah, no, I've been here. I've seen this. I've seen a change. I've seen people move here from out of town and fish, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all, but I've accepted it, and I'll treat you how you treat me. Decent to me, I'll be decent to you. But it doesn't. In this area, it seems it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what your history is. It doesn't matter how long you've been here. If you're going to get, if as time goes on, I realize that more and more people have to stand on their own 2 feet. You're not going to get people to stand behind you, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've mentioned a lot of things when we were just talking privately before about what fishing, I don't know if it's what fishing has taught you or just things that you find important in life as far as like characteristics and values. Have you found that the lifestyle of fishing has taught you particular things about being a person or characteristics that you think everyone should have?
I don't think the only thing I've learned from fishing is how to be better at certain types of fishing. I've learned a lot about people who I fish with around, but overall, I think that what the respect I have for my fellow fishermen, I didn't get that from fishing. I got that from my family and how I was raised. And if I'm upset with someone, I don't stop. I wouldn't stop in front of their house and burn my tires. If someone did that, I'd want to go slap their parents. Right?
Yeah, that's funny.
And the guy that, if you're going to stop and burn your tires in front of my house, do you realize that the guy that you did that to, you might need his help someday? And he might remember that. He might not help you, but he'd also give you the shirt off his back. Just basically it's, I haven't had any issues fishing with people with all this drama. It's like you see the fishing shows and the drama and the tension, and it's, this is reality. It's not reality TV. We all get along. Just, we're not like
surprising. I think people would be surprised to hear that because especially, obviously I live by the Gulf of Mexico and fishing here is completely different. And my experience offshore fishing is as a, kind of in a tourist way. And then my experience fishing as a local is standing on the beach with toes in the sand. So your type of fishing is totally different from what I know. And I do just reference back to clips of those TV shows. So I think that's really surprising to me that there's a neighborly aspect to your fellow fishermen.
Yeah, well, it does good to do good, and lead by example. Just, if I get someone, yesterday I had a pair of another guy's traps they got run over. So it was two of his traps on mine, and there's no buoy. So you just tie it off. I haul my traps up, get them clear, and then I hauled his traps up and kept them aboard the boat and got a hold of him and said, I got a couple of your traps here. That's what we do, and plus it cleans up the bottom.
You look out for each other. What's the scariest thing that has ever happened to you while fishing?
I found out my girlfriend was pregnant. Oh, wait, no. I just had to, I didn't know how my wife was going to handle it.
Oh my God.
No. One time being a nice guy, I met this guy at the dock. He was a tourist. He was from, I remember he used to gill, he told me he'd gill net perch on the Great Lakes. And I never really realized there was a commercial fishery up there. And then I got talking to him. And so I ended up saying they wanted to go out on the boat. And I said, yeah, I'll take you out. So I wasn't fishing the next day. So I took him and his family out on my boat. We went out, we hauled a few lobster traps and had a grand old time. I probably knocked a few back or something. And so I dropped him off at the dock after. And I went to put my boat on the mooring, which is a giant anchor. And I had an outboard, like a aluminum skiff with an outboard motor. So I pulled up, and this is late in the day, and there's no one around at all. And so I grabbed the line, and I'm trying to use terms that everybody will understand, but there's probably like 3 people that are going to watch this and be like, yeah, I know what a painter is. I know what a mooring bit is. I know what, right. So anyway, so I grabbed the line on the
skiff is. I know what an outboard boat is. Thanks to my husband. He'd be so proud right now. But yeah, continue.
So I grabbed the painter, the skiff, the bow line on the skiff that goes to the pennant that goes on the bow of the big boat.
The bow.
So grab that.
Everyone. So the front of the boat.
Yeah, the pointy end.
The pointy end.
And so there's a clip. I unclipped that, and I clipped it on my on a cleat. And as I had the pennant to put my big boat on the mooring. As I stepped up on the rail, I put the boat in reverse, and when I did that, I've done it 1,000 times. That's usually when it happens. I put it in reverse, and when I step up, I'll put it in neutral just to back the boat down a little bit. I caught the line that was under the line that was going to the bow of the skiff. I caught that and I went overboard. But when I did, my foot went under the rope, and when I fell, it put a hitch around my ankle, and my boat's still in reverse, and it's not on the mooring. So I was hanging by one leg upside down, and there was nothing that I could do. I started doing some sit-ups basically with one leg. I couldn't get my other leg up on the rail because the boat was so high out of water. And eventually I did it enough. So when I was extended, I was underwater, like to my chest, upside down. So anyway, I got my foot clear while my boat's in reverse. And there's other boats on moorings all around the harbor, and the boat's going woo, 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 woo. And there's this huge pile. It's a grout bank. It's just chunks of granite. And I was like, yeah, well, I was more worried about my boat than me. Like, well, at least when the boat hits the shore, I can, do something. I don't know.
So all this time you're being dragged behind your boat from your leg.
I was hanging off the side of it, like right where I hauled my traps. But anyway, all good things come to an end. So I got my foot out. Then I went to, and it was a huge sigh of relief. And I didn't even care if my boat hit the rocks because I got my foot out and I was free. And so I went to climb in the skiff. I had my boots on and everything. And I went to pull myself. I grabbed the outboard and I went to pull myself up in the skiff. And as soon as I did, the line came tight and it yanked the skiff away from me. And by then I'm getting kind of tired, And so I was like, I just got one more. And so it's going probably like 2 knots backwards, So anyway, I got myself in the skiff. I got my boat. I put it neutral. And I said, wow, that was dumb. Here I am. But that's a lot better than losing a weight belt at 80 feet.
Mm-hmm. Did that happen to you too?
Yeah, I was diving for scallops. I tried out this new.
Explain that, because I don't think everyone would understand why that's significant. So you're underwater, you're a diver also. So this is not, this is out of the boat in the water. You're 80 feet down. The weight belt is helping you stay down, and then you lose the belt.
Yeah, well, I used to wear 10-pound lead 10-pound lead bars. I wore 4 of them. I wore 40 pounds of lead. A friend of mine, they came out with the new soft pack. They were lead-filled pellet weight belts. It was comfortable, and I mean, it was like a 40-pound fanny pack. You couldn't even feel it on you. But so that the first time I used it, it was probably the second tank I did, second scuba tank. So we do 1 tank. You figure 25, 30 minutes at bottom time, and then we do like 4 tanks a day, usually, depending on how deep you are. So I was wearing this the first time I ever used it. And I must have hit the clip or something. The thing slid off me. And I didn't know it until it was too late. So I'm heading up. I got a bag of scallops. So I grabbed my line. And I pulled the bag of scallops and I held it between my legs because I didn't have any weight. I'm headed up. And
safety stops are every 15 feet?
What's that?
What are safety stops normally so that you prevent yourself from getting the bends? It's every feet or every 10 feet?
We never did that.
Never did safety stops?
No, we don't. We use a computer. That's like wreck diving.
Okay.
You just you do some surface time. I don't know. There's probably some wreck diver out there that's going to correct me on this, but no, we just spaced out our dive time. If we did 2 tanks, we did, you could trust your computer, and it will tell you when you can go back in the water and how deep, and you get bent using the Navy dive tables. You don't get bent if you listen to your computer in this area, diving for scallops. But so that weight belt came off. So I'm headed to the surface. I got both of my fins out and my arms. I'm flapping, trying to slow myself down. And I shot out of the water up to my knees. And it wasn't. And my friend's father was tending us, and he came over. He's an old salt. He was old then. He's old. He's a lot older now, but he was old then. And he came over, and nothing rattles him. And he was, "You all right?" I says, "Yeah, I'm fine." A little shell shock, but we're all right. We're still here.
So you never had you didn't have the bends, nothing happened. You were just fine.
Yeah, I just felt like somebody was pulling a piece of rusty wire through my shoulder for like 6 years. But it's gone away.
Oh, good. Okay. There's hope for the rest of us then.
It didn't ruin my hockey career.
Oh my gosh. Well, before we wrap up, I have two more things that I would love to ask you. The first one is, what do you feel like people misunderstand about the commercial fishing industry, at least in the American Northeast?
We're not all pirates. Some of us are. Some of us pretend to be. And I'd say that fishermen from the Northeast are some of the most generous people you'll ever meet in your life. And some a bit chippy at times, but when you get through that chippiness, we're all around good people. We worry about our business and our families, most all of us, and that we do care about the environment. Definitely, I've seen a huge change from my perspective. People that putting garbage cans on their boats and stuff like that. Little things, little victories.
Yeah, you would be a good person to have that perspective, since you've been not only just doing it in your lifetime, but also, your generations before you. That's really interesting. And my other question is, what do you feel like sometimes people misunderstand about you?
Well, could you say that one more time?
What do you feel like people misunderstand about you?
That I'm a nice guy all the time.
No?
Because no, I don't know. My kindness, I guess. Just be nice to people. I don't know. Sometimes you get taken advantage of because you're nice. And once in a while, the old dog's got to come out. And you got to give him a back. There's no I in that. It's just back.
Yeah, we could do a whole nother episode on like different, what do we call them? Mannerisms. Get it? Instead of mannerisms. Yeah, sorry. I'll see myself out.
No. Mannerisms.
Well, thank you for sharing your insight. I'm so glad that we were able to meet. We have to give a shout out to your sister, Emily, for the introduction. Any final thoughts you want to leave to us or the future generation of commercial fishermen before we wrap?
Yeah, just one more thing.
What? What is that?
I got big hands, and that is a cranker right there.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's real.
So for those listening and not watching on YouTube, what is that, like a 9-inch lobster claw?
Wait, hold on. I have to measure it 3 times. I don't know. I'd say, no, I got that. We were scallop dragging, and we caught one giant claw in the drag, and I saved the claw. The lobster, if it was whole, would be too big to fit in a lobster trap, I would say. But anyway, I just thought you might like to see that.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
But yep, there's a lot of lobster sandwiches in that one.
Well, maybe one day we'll share one in real life. Thanks for the show, Erik. That was
maybe.
Did great. That's a wrap.